My homie, as am I. Let's go. I believe we are live. Welcome back to the Mile High Hotspur. My name is Leo Coys, and today I am joined by my homie. I call him KTK. He goes by Crash or Jared, however he wants to go. My homie, how are you doing? Thank you for joining me, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Leo. Yeah, I mean, I know we've been chatting a bit in the streams and for the past couple of years, so I'm just happy to meet you officially last week at the home game, and just happy to be on the stream with you.
Yeah, cheers, bro. Cheers, bro. I appreciate that. It is a Friday night. I'm not too sure how much interaction we will be getting from the chat, homie, but I do have some things that I do wanna talk about. The first being just uh kind of just to skim over it. We had a signing. The Rapids signed a new young player. It kind of was a rumor that gained some interest a couple of days ago, and then today we seen him actually with the scarf, and that's when you know that it's official, like a referee whistle. And we get a new player. We will talk on him a little bit here in a second. Also, we will dive into what we can probably expect playing up against a team like the Vancouver Whitecaps, who are right now are leading the Western Conference and have taken out some notable names in their way in doing so as well. So we will dive into that. But I just want to say, I think maybe a good way, like I said, to get into this one, my homie, is with our new signing. Uh, I'm gonna pull up the Instagram post from the Piddies, and then from there we'll be able to go. What first impressions, my homie, on the new signing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about him other than he's got some youth national team experience, which is great. I think he's starting to get some regular minutes with Orange County in USL, so that's positive. So the way I look at it is the scouting team with the PIDs have been really keen on some younger signings. I know we've got Ollie Fadal that is sitting there on the bench. Hopefully, we can see some minutes out of him that they've been scouting for a while. And I guess Bryce they've had on their radar as well. So, I know we won't see him until next year, but hopefully he stays healthy, gets some good minutes, and I'll be watching some of the Orange County to see if we can see some early signs of some quality from him, because we could use some extra help on the wings.
Yeah, no, this is one of the positions where I think I do the majority of my bitching is about the position up there on top that we definitely need some reinforcements. I do have it up on the screen now. It was taking me a minute to get the page that I wanted to get up on screen. Look, my homies, I'm not gonna sit here in front and the homie, said to himself, a player that we don't know too much about, obviously, coming up in some sort of ranks. But what I do know is the Rapids did put out an article regarding the signing of this player. So I'm just going to kind of skim through it. KTK, my homie, just bear with me while I kind of just skim over this. He says he started playing soccer when he was 10, which is, if you ask me, that's a bit later on in life
Yeah,
for somebody who
I've
has, I guess, kind of rushed to mini stardom, if you will, to get to this point. You started
yeah.
at 10.
Yeah, that seems
Um,
pretty young. I mean, my son's 4, and I think I just mentioned he got his U5 game canceled for the next morning. So I mean, we start young around here. So that 10, I mean, he's got some good quality if he's being picked up at that point.
no, that's what it is. Must be some good natural ability, right? That kind of
Mhm.
just started to flourish just at, I guess, at an older age.
Mhm.
But check this out. He's from a club near his hometown of Atlanta. He eventually moved to Atlanta United's academy. Um, and he then joined Barcelona Residency Academy based in Arizona. So I guess he was scouted by
Yeah,
Barca. And I
yeah.
guess there it says was signed and then went to Orange County. I kind of talked about this the other day, my homie. Orange County being, they're making a lot of noise in the league that they play
Mhm.
in. somewhat of a popular team. I know that much. And to be able to, can I say, nip one of these players from them, especially an up and coming talent, I'm pretty stoked for this one, my homie. I'm not gonna lie, a position where we definitely need some cover for, like you said so
Mhm.
yourself. Won't be till next season, but something to look forward to, right? If we're Rapids fans for the future.
Yeah, I mean they've got to be high on him if they're signing him now, right? Leaving him on loan at Orange County, he's going to get some good minutes over there. So I mean, hoping we should have good things for him in the 26 season.
I agree. Right here is actually showing a post from the Orange County SC
Oh
where he was
yeah,
actually won the
young
Young
player,
Player of the Year for them. So
awesome.
to be able to get one of those players off them is amazing. Here's some other stuff that Jameson has already crossed paths with a few of the Rapids in his young career. He played in the first ever MLS Next All-Star game. How about that little stat? With Adam Beaudry when he was
Yeah,
rostered with Barcelona Academy, both taken to the pitch to represent the West team. Okay, so not 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 somebody who's he's
yeah,
he's
no
he's making
slouch.
he's making some noise. Yeah, he's making some noise. I like that, my
Yeah, I mean,
homies.
if you're
I
in the
like that.
U.S., if you're on the youth national team, in the Youth World Cup, that's positive. So you can't complain about that.
I had no idea that that Beaudry was such a highly touted youngster himself, bro. Getting
Oh
some
yeah.
minutes with the U.S. in his division as well.
Hmm.
So being able to, I guess, recruit, would be dope to have a spine, like a good spine of these type of players, for times to come.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Let's
exciting.
go. Yo, my homie, how are you? I stayed up to watch the stream and I fell asleep watching the Tottenham game. Let's go. That'll do that to you. That'll do that to you. Crash, you got a Premier League team, my homie, or do you not want to tell me because you're afraid we won't be friends?
No, I'm an Arsenal fan. I've always been an Arsenal fan.
Oh,
It
God
was
damn
the
it,
team that I
Crash.
picked a
God
long time
damn it,
ago. I
Crash.
have no. Yep, sorry, but yeah, I had one of my buddies back in California. He was a big Spurs fan, so we always battled.
Yeah, big up, my homie.
But it's
Yeah,
all good.
and
I
here
enjoy
goes.
it. I mean, I don't. I got no ties to any of them. It's just self-selected, so I root for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. I get that. He said, and then Austin, big up yourself, my homie. Hope you're feeling better. He said he's plugging in his ears when Crash talks. My homie, the majority of my homies that I'm meeting, it just are Gooners, my homie. That's just what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's go. Let me get rid of that one real quick. Just wanted to touch bases on that one, my homie,
While you're
because I
doing
am
that,
pretty
I'll
excited about that.
one thing I'll bring up. I'm excited when we get these new signings. We're hearing up the PIDs from every single one of them.
Yeah.
I love that they're getting all of our new signings. They've adopted that, and it's good to see the club really leaning into that. That's one thing I've been happy to see this season.
No, bro, I've said this plenty of times, and I'll continue to say I think they're doing things in the right direction through all facets of
Yep.
of the business, of the brand, of the culture, of everything from the way they're trying to interact more with the fans. I've even seen it more in like the supporter section.
Mhm.
Of course, me, I'm a consumer of content, so whatever type of content that they put out, I enjoy watching. And yeah, man, and also too, like the way that we've kind of rebranded the South Bank there, and the team really show a lot of appreciation to the fans and stuff like that. And it's,
Mhm.
like you don't look at the Rapids as a huge market. That's no secret there. You know what I mean? So when these players come from, let's just say, the homie Bryce, when he comes here next year, he's gonna come from this team that he plays at probably draws the same amount of people that we do for a
Yeah,
Rapids game. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
we need to
potentially, yeah.
really, yeah, so as a fan base, like the Rapids are trying to really build that up. I even see it in the Instagram posts. I see it everywhere, my homie, that it's just,
Mhm.
and to see you're right, you hit the nail right on the head with the hammer, homie. When these players come in and just grasp it, homie. It's I think that translates too when they play onto the pitch, right? They just feel they
Mhm.
just feel more jubilant. They just more relaxed about it. Feel at
Yeah.
home if that's the case. It's always
Yeah.
gonna
Well, you're
translate.
playing for something else. You're playing for something bigger, right? You're not just playing just
Yeah.
because you're playing. You got real support behind them. And if I'm not, I remember seeing some content about USL and Orange County a while back, and they have a really strong supporters group there too. So yeah, so it's he's going to come from a group that has this strong. I mean, because they're and you can buy into the as a fan.
Yeah.
You can buy into the Orange County team. So I mean, there people
Hmm.
are passionate there. So hopefully he enjoys it.
Yeah. Yeah, live it up, man. And then we'll be waiting for you when you touch down, my homie. We will be waiting for you when
Yeah.
you touch down. Um Look, my homie, to get the ball rolling with the show, we're coming up against a good opponent. We were talking backstage how well, I'll just kind of let you kind of you lead us into to what we were talking about, bro. Just how,
Yeah.
tough opponent, the type of teams that they've beaten to get to being number one in the West. What are your initial thoughts on our opponent?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big test. I mean, Vancouver has, you know, you can look at their schedule and question whether how of a strong of a start they've had to deal with. But the results kind of speak for themselves, right? They're top of the West. They've done really well. They've played well, really well, in the games that they've had, and in their CCC matches. I mean, I think really those games, you look at them and they have shown, that they have the quality that's going to be challenging to beat. So I think for us, it's exciting because it's going to be a big test for us. I think Charlotte was our first big one, which I thought we showed up for. We showed the quality we have. Now we've got to go away and we've got to show up again. So for us to be able to play well against a team at home and potentially knock them out of that top spot, that's gonna be a big way for us to kick off a quality start to the season.
Yeah, that's exactly the type of opponent that you can uh beat to start a good run, or at least to continue with the momentum that we've kind
Yeah.
of built up in this short span of the season.
Mhm.
But up on the screen, I have some of the games that they've been playing. So this is their schedule, and they do have a bit of a busier schedule than us, my homie. They're in
Yeah.
the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and you actually made a good point backstage. You said that they played against Pumas just what was it, 2 days ago in that tournament.
I
So
would
they're
say, yeah.
probably either yeah, they're probably gonna have a knackered squad maybe, or at least not 100% fit squad coming into this match, which will, I guess, play into
Mhm.
our favor, especially a team like us, my homie, who look to run teams. Or I guess, and I guess now I have to rephrase that. We will play comfortably, allowing you to run yourself ragged, and then in the second half, when you're tired, that's when we will look to strike. And this is, a better time to strike to face this team than now, bro, after they played just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, they've got a bit of they've got a few injuries. They think they've got five that are out, including Ryan Gauld is still out, which that plays into our hands. I know they were questionable, and if he was going to be able to come back sooner, I think being out, having that Wednesday game, they played hard. I mean, it was. I don't know if you've been watching any of the CC games, but I definitely was watching that one. And Pumas pulled a late goal to get the draw. And so they were definitely pushing. I mean, Vancouver was not a quiet game for them. And I think that is their priority. So we might be able to utilize that as a bit of a support for us to get that win. But the other side of it too is we can't rely on it either, right? There's no way that we can go into this, oh, they're tired and expect to win. We've got to go and play our
Sure.
game the way we'd want to play it with fresh legs and come out on
That,
top.
That's fair, bro. If anything, go out there and play your game, because if I feel like if we do play our game, then yeah, we could definitely do them. And like you said,
Yeah.
all the other mitigating factors, of course, then will or can come into question. But yeah,
Yeah.
just head down, everybody on their day, on their assignment. We will talk about, maybe like a predicted lineup later on in the stream. But I just want to say I'm confident that Chris Armas is a good coach, a good manager, good enough to know what type of formation to play against different type of teams and what type of system to go with against certain opponents.
Mhm.
Looking here at the standings, there they are. Number one in the Western Conference after 6 matches played, winning 4 of them, drawing one, losing one, and then also like we kind of talked about that they're also in the CCC, and they have some
Mhm.
pretty good opponents that they've already ran through. One of them being Monterrey, who can arguably be favorites to win that competition, who are obviously now out. But then they're coming up against Pumas, and Pumas is no walk in the park for any team. I
Yeah.
don't care
Yeah, for sure.
if you're Mexican League or you're MLS. You're not gonna just have your way with them. So um,
Mhm.
I kind of just want to put that into perspective because we have a good challenge on our hands this weekend, my homies.
Yeah. I agree. This is our first big, big challenge. And if you're looking at the table too, right? We win this, we sit in the top spot depending on how the rest of the games roll. I mean, it's going to knock Vancouver
Didn't
out
even
with
notice
a
that.
win.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. So I mean, we're going to be 14 points and they'll be on 13 at minimum. So, that puts us ahead of them regardless of what happens with the rest of the games. So, I mean, that'll be a big statement there, just knocking them off the top spot no matter what happens.
Yeah, fucking hell, bro. Being a Tottenham fan, my homie, I don't look at the table much. So now I've been
It's
translating
early. It's
that into,
early. It doesn't.
yeah,
I mean, we're tied
it is,
for third
no,
for three different
I
teams,
know,
right? But it's
but still,
exciting
my
though.
homie, but still, it's exciting, you know what I mean? But it's exciting, and um, we should. One thing that homie, this is off to another topic, but I just want to get your opinion on this last game. Afterwards they had the media availability for the players, and one of them was Djordje Mihailovic, and he talked about how and I know this game's away, but like I said, this is just I want to get your opinion on it before I lose the train of thought. The Rapids normally start the game off, and they will attack against the north side, and then second half they attack coming towards the supporters.
Mhm.
And Georgie said even he noticed, that the players talk about that, and they noticed that, and they really felt that the two prior games, home games, we attacked the opposite ends, right? We attacked
Mhm.
the south side first, and then the north side second, and he said that they noticed that, like in the second
Mhm.
half, they feed off of our energy. And then I guess how I can
Yeah, for
make this
sure.
come full circle is I said that earlier, like just let them play their game, you play your game, and if we're gonna let them be comfortable and wait for the second half, like what's your thoughts on that, my homie? Like just the fact that like the players know, that like these little tiny things that that
Mhm.
come, these little mind games and shit like that. How
Yeah.
one, are you surprised to hear that, like, that is something that they do think about? And two, like, big us up, man. Like that's fucking dope that like they hear, this, they feel the vibes that that the South Bank gives them.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, any athlete who's been able to be on any sort of pitch, whether it's rec league or high school or college or anything, you've heard the stands, you've heard the people, and you get into an environment that has tens of thousands of people. Like I do live events for my job, and even just putting on the event and hearing the roar of 10,000 people screaming and getting excited it makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck. So, when you hear the South Bank going and you hear the fans, clapping on a free kick, and like, you have to feel that as a player, right? I mean, I can totally understand where they feed off of that energy. And that's, I think, the hardest part is like when we see the guys that are, they're struggling, or they're, like when they're down, 2-0 in the second half or whatever it might be, and we lose that energy. You have to know that they're struggling to get that energy up. And so you see those, especially a lot of the English clubs, man, if you see them, you can tell the difference when the supporter section is really into it, and that you can see them actually pull teams straight out of pits. So yeah, I mean, I think that's, I think, the biggest challenge for us is when we don't have a supporter section traveling to Vancouver. So I think it's even harder than some of the European leagues that have a huge, strong supporters contingent that are going from game to game. So if they pull out road wins, and I think we've been really doing well on the road this season. I think that is just testament that what Armas has done for the team, as well as the team themselves, is just being able to have that internal drive to get it going, because when, if anything, they're getting that drive off of scoring and just hear a dead silent crowd, a full stadium completely quiet. So yeah, I definitely can understand how it pushes them. So I'm excited to hear that they're at least giving some feedback to us and saying, yeah, you guys are helping us.
Yeah, that's dope, man. And like I said, I think that's dope, bro. That was kind of relayed to us.
Yeah, for sure.
I would not take Fraser Forster at the Rapids. We have good goalkeepers. I mean, I don't think we would need to really go looking outside for anybody. I would say probably for the next 2 years, maybe. You know what I mean? And then that they would probably need to start thinking about somebody. But I'm not gonna lie, if Beaudry continues, making his own waves and making his own impacts, he may want to go get game time somewhere else. So,
yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, and I agree. I think I'm surprised that Beaudry hasn't gone to at least on loan this season. I would imagine, depending on how next season goes, we might see him on loan to get some real minutes. But I think he's getting some real playing time. We knew that Zack was probably going to be on the national team, so he's going to be away. Yep. So he's going to get some proper minutes there. But getting training, everyday trainings with Chris Sharp and Zack Steffen. I mean, you're not getting any better experience. So I could imagine sticking around, even with the minimal playing time he's getting, from the first team. But yeah, I think I think he got let down against Portland. I felt bad for him there, but yeah, I think we've got a good goalkeeping crew right now. I think we don't necessarily, the third level of that is, I'm not overly concerned with. I don't even know who we have necessarily for third at the current moment, but yeah, so I think we're solid there for sure.
Yeah, I agree. The Rapids have to boss the game. I'm not gonna lie. I have a feeling the Rapids could have a Nottingham Forest type season. Let's go. I like to hear that. Yeah, I just and early days as well. But yes, it is. Oh, when the Pids go marching in. Yeah, let me get back over here to the screen. And Vancouver is pretty. It's for it being. You kind of talked about not us being a lot different than the European markets and the European leagues. And I say that, I'm not too familiar on how far of a flight it is from here to Vancouver, but I'm pretty sure it's a bit of a distance. You know what I mean? So you're having to travel a long ways too to make it to these matches.
Yeah.
So you're right. Like, it's not like you're just hopping on a flight and like 45 minutes later you're like in the next part of the country to play the game. I seen something like we were
I don't
talking
think
about.
People realize it.
Go ahead, brother.
Well, I just say, like, people don't really realize it. I mean, like, we're going to Canada. We're going to another country to play. Like this, that's like a Champions League kind of situation, or Europa League, where you're going across, Europe to play, another team, for the day. So, I mean, it's actually pretty amazing to think how far these guys have to travel on a regular basis. I mean, Vancouver's lucky they didn't have to go to Mexico on Wednesday, but next week's gonna be rough for them.
Yeah, you're right, bro. Just kind of checking out right here I not the odds, but the percentages. And
Mhm.
Vancouver's at a 53 to win, Rapids at a 23 and a 24 to draw. Um, Let me go back
Yeah, I'm
here.
not those percentages, odds, it definitely favor Vancouver. I mean, they're at home, so you're going to get that bump.
Right.
They're at top of the table. You're going to get that bump. But I always we always see the Apple TV, percentage meter during the game. It never favors the Rapids. I think we're always, looked at, and there's some favorability bias on anything that's coming percentage wise. So, I'm not surprised there, but I also think we get a little bit of extra kick in our pants out on the pitch when we see that favorability rating, towards the other team.
Yeah, I agree. Bro, I'm trying to get this to stay here so that we can see the player
Hit the
availability
pause up at the
report.
top.
So, well, there you go. That's how we're going to do that. I'm sitting here thinking like, bro, am I going to have to keep going back and forth? So this is our player availability. Let me see if I zoom in a bit. Oh, I can't zoom in. Okay. Um, so for the Rapids, not due to injury, who is out is Reggie Cannon. That's a bit sus. Ted
Mhm.
Pietro is still out with a shoulder injury. Connor Ronan with the appendix injury is still with the appendicitis is still out. Jackson Travis with the hand injury that's been lingering around for quite some time,
Yeah.
out. And then we have over on the Whitecaps side of things, I'm gonna butcher this one. Sam Adekugbe. Pretty sure I
Yeah.
butchered
Your
that
guess is as
one.
good as mine.
Yeah, out. And then Ryan Gauld, like we talked about, pretty big
Mhm.
name, right? Out with the knee injury. Matthias Laborda, hamstring out. Jaden Nelson, hamstring. And then the other homie down at the bottom, out with the quad injury. So
Mhm.
they looking like they have some injuries themselves. Um, can I ask you how versed are you in MLS and different teams? When if you see this availability report, does it mean anything to you, bro? Like, are they missing any
Um,
type of fierce
a
players?
little,
Is this
yeah, a little bit.
go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to. I do my. I'm a bit of a sicko, so I at least do a little bit of research before just to see where we're at with the teams, and I always enjoy it. But you just looking at the report from Pumas game, the only person I see that's really a uh, not available from that game is Jaden Nelson. He's in it looks like is one of the wingers. He came on as a substitute in that game, so him not being available is probably not good for them. That takes away from some of their attack. But other than outside of Ryan Gauld, I think the rest aren't surprises for us or being concerned.
Yeah, fair enough. And then can I ask you the same thing about our availability? Anything about
Yeah,
Canon? Have you heard anything different about Canon? Is that just something that
you
they're
know,
trying
I
to nurse or something?
No, I mean, if it's not due to injury or an illness, I would assume that they would say that. The only thing I think of is maybe there's some weird customs issue with him because we are going to Canada. So there
Mm,
could be something
he's
along
a
those lines
felon.
that could cause him.
He's a
Yeah,
felon.
you never. Yeah, Canada gets weird with that, and so that's the only thing is maybe there's some issue there. I wouldn't imagine, or it could just be a personal thing. So you never know. There could be tons of things there that's
Yeah.
going on. I'm happy to hear it's not injury, which is great because it means his groin injury was just minor. He
Yeah.
just needed a week off, which is great. And then I think Connor expected. It just got his appendix out. He's out for a couple weeks, but it sounds
Yeah.
like he's doing better and should be back actually pretty quick. And then Ted, I think with KDP, we knew he was going to be out. I'm assuming there's no reason for him to travel. I hear he's out on training and he's in full training with the team, so that's good to know. And I think with my guess is we'll see him at home next week against San Diego, or maybe we see at least his first minutes in San Diego at home.
Minutes.
So
And what a fucking fixture to pick up some minutes, bro. Big up to the Bayesian Reds, Liverpool channel. Much love to you guys. Hope you guys are well, my homie. Leading the league on top of the table. He asked if I was engine or out. I'm engine. I'm engine. I just don't want things to, I don't want to go through the same rinse and repeat. So I'm okay going through the heartaches. I'm okay riding it out. You know what I mean? Sorry about that, Crash. Just had to get
Oh,
to
you're
the
good.
homie's comment there.
No, I love it. I
You're
mean, it's making me having to. I want to got to get more into, the EPL stuff, and I don't follow. I just got too much stuff going on Saturdays that I don't get
yeah.
to follow the morning games.
Bro, I'm actually the chairman of the Colorado Spurs, and one of like the loudest voices in the pub. So it,
Nice.
it I mean the channel started as a Tottenham channel, but it's literally shifted massively to just being uh what it is, you know what I mean? But yeah, the EPL for me is where I kind of fell in love with football.
Hmm.
But the Rapids, and the MLS have definitely become a huge part of what's going on.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
it's always good to have a good team in your hometown. So.
yep, of course, bro. My thoughts on the player availability is you actually brought up a good point, bro. Is I didn't think anything about the whole Canadian. He's going to another country, and there could probably be some sort of paperwork that didn't get done or anything like that. And I mean, I don't know, or he could be wanted, one of the two. I'm going with there's just some, yeah. Um,
Yeah, you never know.
thoughts on
You can't
thoughts
leave the
on
country.
Cody.
That's what I'm going on.
Yeah, I agree, bro. I agree. Just real quick, we got Cody Petro again. One of these signings that came out of nowhere.
Mhm.
We picked him up while he was injured, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. So I just wanted,
I'm really high on KDP. I think I'm excited by him. I When he came in, I think we were all screaming for wingers and attackers, and so I was like, all right, who's this kid? Who's this? Who's this guy? Who are we bringing in? And so the sicko in me, and because I was fiending for some MLS stuff, I went back and watched basically all the highlights from and all the goals scored for DC United last season, and you watch him in some of those games and it's actually pretty exciting. He's explosive. He's got speed. He's not afraid to he likes to take on people 1v1. He's going in there. And when your strike partner is Benteke,
okay.
you've gotta be playing at your top of your game. I mean, anybody who's playing against the Golden Boot for last year, you've got to have some quality with you. So I know that the rest of the team wasn't, the highest quality, but the attack definitely wasn't their problem.
Yeah,
And then the other thing too is, I mean, he's an academy kid from there, and it's always good you always know the quality of a player on how upset the club and the supporters are when he goes, and they weren't very happy when he left. I think they got the money they felt they could out of him, and happy to send him, but the supporters were definitely like, he's going to be missed. Well, we liked him a lot, so that's always a good sign.
that is, bro. That is a good sign. And then, yeah, just a shame about Connor Ronan. Came back into the lineup, had that one
I know.
match, and then just out of nowhere again, we kind of hear that the appendicitis came. They had to take his appendix out. I'm off to bed though. Got to be up early night. Night all. Stay safe. Much love, bro. And as always, big up, Leo. Big up, Crush. But I'm assuming he said Crash. Big up the chat.
Yep, all good.
Come on, you Spurs. Um, he actually got the job. My homies, we were talking about this the other stream. He was a bit nervous, had the interview. We wished him good luck, and the homie
Oh
got
yeah,
the
nice.
fucking job. Let's go. So yeah, it's the homie out there
Congrats,
in
man. Congrats. That's awesome. Yeah, I was on that stream. I
in the
saw him
UK.
post that. That's cool.
Yeah, so we did end up getting the job. Let's go. Um, and then Jackson Travis, a hand injury, keeping him out still. Been out for quite some time. And it's a shame
Mm.
because he got minutes last season. He got some good minutes last season. and you're thinking right now, everybody ahead of me is injured. This is when I could be getting some time, because that's what happened last season. Sam Vines
Mhm.
was out with that injury for a minute there, and he kind of got and then Seb was out as well, so he kind of just got
Yeah.
that place given to him. And then off the off season, we got rid of Seb. Um,
Mhm.
to Hartford, or to Hartford Athletic or something like that. I
Yeah.
have a homie who is a Spurs fan, and a subscriber of the channel, who is hometown is the team that he went to. Seb. So he asked me, "Hey, what's your thoughts on Seb?" So I gave him my opinion. But
Yeah.
yeah, Jackson Travis, like I was saying, shame to see that. He's I don't know what the hell could be keeping you out for so long with the hand injury. For me, I think it's a bummer, because like I just said, bro, tons of opportunities he could
Mhm.
be having right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had to bring Anderson Rosa up for what,
Rosa,
three
yeah,
call ups, and now he's packed. We can't pull him up unless we sign him again. So that definitely is a big hit to Travis, where somebody who could have stepped straight in, or at least gotten some quality minutes, and or the other side of that though is we might have not seen Ian Murphy fill in on the left back
true,
if he wasn't out.
true,
So being able to see
true.
his quality and him stay in good form is always a positive. So again, ups and downs. It's I think if I'm Jackson, I'm pissed. I don't want to miss out on any opportunity, but we'll see what happens when he comes back. And it's just unfortunate. A hand injury, you would think you can get like wrap that up, get back on the
Wrap it
field.
up. Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. Come out with a huge Benzema cast on or something.
Yeah, right.
Um,
As was it or was in San Jose, we were from
Chucky
RSLS.
Lozano.
My brain's no. Her name. No, never mind. He's got a big thing on his hand with San Jose. My brain
Okay.
is farting
Yeah.
now. Sorry.
Some players need it, man. Um, so let's kind of just, I guess we could segue into the match that we will be playing this weekend.
Yeah.
We've kind of just been bouncing off of it, back and forth, and of course, but now, what will you? If you're Chris Armas, my homie, what type of game plan would you be trying to, I guess, implement, or like what type of game would you be trying to play? Because if I will, I could just add, we've seen a couple of different formations, we've
Mhm.
seen the use of different personnel, maybe in different sides of the pitches, different areas, um, and just based off everything that we've seen so far, what type of any adjustments would you make, or you know what I'm saying, like what type of what would you be doing, my homie?
Yeah, I mean, just looking back, I mean, we were at 4-3-3 last week. We were, yeah. I mean, we've been pretty solid in the 4-3-3. I wouldn't imagine we're going to make any major changes on that in the interim. I, I think you'll see the majority of the same starters out there. I think on the back line, it's going to be a toss up between Ian Murphy and Vines at that left back. I would I want to see Vinesy come back and be ready to go. But he hasn't had any minutes this season, so it's going to be tough to say I'm going to throw him out there right off. But Ian has been playing really well all season at any position he's been out there on. So you might go safe and say, hey, we got a good solid back four with him. We'll miss out on maybe the forward play that we're going to get from Vines, but so I don't know. We'll see. The only thing outside of that is I think the big question mark is, does Cabral get to start? I mean,
Mm,
that's going to be the big thing. He hasn't been performing to the level we would expect and even need from him, let alone a DP. So I would love to see Omir, slot into that position. I think he's earned it. He's shown his quality. He's been coming in at clutch. The other side of it too, I could see him, Cabral, and Harris coming in, at the 60-minute with fresh legs and just run the heck out of Vancouver. I mean, they're going to have some tired legs from Wednesday. That speed in the second half, if we need it's going to be key. So I think some good positive, but I wouldn't imagine our formation really shifts too much from the 4-3-3.
Yeah, I actually have it up right now on the screen. This is from Sofa. This is from Sofa Score, and
Hmm.
I'm assuming this is kind of just like a predicted, based off of what we've been seeing. If and
Yeah.
I'm just guessing here. Um, but look, I just clicked on the Rapids there, my vote, and pretty heavily skewed for the other team. Just looking here, bro. I don't know how if you could see that good, but it does show,
Yep.
I guess, what would be our average ratings for our players there. And it looks like we're going up against, about equal. I mean, up there you see us 7.0 rated, and then Vancouver
Hmm.
7.10. So nothing really sticks out. Looks like yeah,
Yeah.
you're right, bro. It could just be a good matchup. You know what I mean? It obviously is going to be a good matchup, but
Hmm. Yeah, it'll
um,
be interesting. I mean, looking at the Vancouver side with what kind of the predicted lineup they've got there. I mean, two big key, factors is our goalkeepers, right? We've got Steffen in there who's been just rock solid I mean, playing. I think it was Matt Doyle that said, he's by far the best keeper in the league right now.
yeah,
So we've, that solid back line. It looks like Vancouver, their back four are all in green there. So I mean, we're showing some positivity there. I mean, ours, we got Cannon who's out. So maybe Vinesy slots in there. I think Keegan will pop over back to the right, Vinesy there be on the left. But even if Murphy pops in there, I think Murphy's, he's
and
almost at a
green. He's
7
got to
or,
be green. Yeah,
yeah, he's got to be close to the green there as well. Um, so I'm looking at that going, okay, we've got very favorable. We've got it too. But if you look there, they've got Ralph Priso there in the midfield, who was he was a Burgundy boy a couple years ago under Fraser. So he hasn't had, looks like he hasn't really had the quality of the season so far that we
yeah.
would as Ollie has or our midfield has. So I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, you kind of look it up. It's going to be a pretty close matchup. We'll see if Ryan White shows up. And if they have a good front line, it's going to be a challenge. But if they're tired legs, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I agree, bro. I agree. I wouldn't mind seeing the same lineup that we seen on the weekend. Let me see if I can. Let me pull it up real quick, my homie.
Yeah, good.
Because I honestly thought that this would be a good, a good formation, a good squad to for these type of games right here, my homie.
Hmm.
Especially like
Yeah.
we were kind of talking about it behind stage, behind the screen, and you mentioned something about a triple pivot, and I've never heard that term. What I've seen here is more or less seeing Cole Bassett and Atencio form somewhat of a double, and I think for me, this game coming up is going to be again another. We will need another huge performance from these two players, Atencio and Cole Bassett. But
Yeah.
I guess I'm getting too far ahead of myself. What I wanted to see was Ian Murphy here, and yeah, he
Hmm.
was a 7.0 last game. But you would probably think, bro. My intuition tells me that this would be our back four starting against Vancouver. Ian Murphy probably just has the rhythm to probably play into the 60th minute. I know Armis likes to
Hmm.
do that first round of subs around that time, and I'm thinking maybe if we're able to if we're up. Do you know what I mean? Do you try to bring Sam Vines on to maybe close the game out? Is he a closer type of player, or is he going to be more? Should we start him to maybe then bring in a Murphy if we need to close things out?
Yeah, I think. I mean, he's your attacking. He's more of a wingback than he is a fullback, right? And so he
Yeah.
likes to get forward. So if we want to have, that overlap, Ian's not going to be that guy. He's going to be a solid on the back line. He's going to shut things down as needed. He'll get up and play. But it's really going to be dependent on what Armis wants to do there. I could see maybe it's we want to get on the front foot. We want to get some aggression at the beginning, some pace. We get him out, get up front. maybe get a goal or two. Then you're going to swap in Murphy there to solidify that back line,
Sure enough.
lock down the defense, and maybe finish out the game. That'd be my guess is what might happen. But I could also see Armstead rolling with what he feels comfortable with, and Murphy's proven his worth, and he could get to just stay out there on the back line there.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I agree. Any anything that you would like to add? Anything that kind of sticks out or that you're worried about?
No, I'm not necessarily worried about it, but Hoffa's had some really good games lately, but he hasn't gotten anything in the back of the net lately. I think he would have had that. I do think he would have scored off of that penalty on Saturday if he hadn't gotten fouled there. He was one on with the keeper, and he would have made that one happen. But I would like to see him get on the score sheet. I think he plays better when he's getting things in the back of the net, and so I'm hoping to see him get one there in the back, so that keep his confidence high, because that's what he's going to keep pushing for.
I would like to think that Hoffa's that type of player that, I mean, all players are going to feed off of momentum, but you think Hoffa is just one of those ones that when he's banging them in, he's probably on cloud nine, on practice and at home
Mm-hmm.
throughout the training facility, whatever, during the match. Hoffa for me, is a workhorse, my homie. There's a reason why he gets the minutes that he gets. Apart from we're kind of thin up there on top, that he is going to get those minutes, but I guess he's justifying them. They're justifiable as to where we look at the right side of the pitch with when we see Kevin Cabral. It's hard to say, and you kind of touched on this. Is that kind of where we can probably look to make some changes, and if so, what kind of changes? That is
Mm-hmm.
probably the only area in the pitch, if you're a Rapids fan, where you're thinking, hey, can we maybe start thinking about a change? What's your opinion on that
Yeah.
one, my homie?
I expected it to happen last week. I was fully expecting against Charlotte to have Cabral on the bench from that Portland game before. Now, if it's not, I'll be worried. I think there's some positive, right? I think Cabral does have he's got pace. He does a lot of defensive work, which is amazing. So I'm not going to, be all negative against him. He definitely has some good moments, but the challenge is when he does get the ball, he does the same thing, right? We've heard it all week where he gets that ball, he gets the pace, he gets it down, he makes a cut back, and then he loses the ball, right? And so, kind of like I felt with J-Lu last year, anytime he had it, I got worried because I knew we were going to lose it, or, there was a couple moments of positivity there, but, I would love to see Cabral snap out of that and really add to the attack, because I think, he's got it in him, but since he's come back from injury last season with that broken arm, he just hasn't quite been the same.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame, bro. It's a shame because Cabral's a player. I don't know much about him, my homie, but like what I'm saying is, seems like a lot of potential there that is just, I guess, dying to just be broken
Yeah.
out of him, I guess, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
right
That's
here
the hard
over.
part, I think. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, my homie.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, I think that's been his past 5 years in the MLS, right? Galaxy had him on a DP, deal coming in. It didn't work out. They got rid of him as soon as they could, and the Rapids, brought him in thinking that they could develop out, pull that quality out of him that they had seen, and you've seen glimpses of it. And I think that's why he's had such a good, he has the contract he has. But I think that contract ends at this season, and there's no way he's going to be able to come close to that, for what happens next. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing, but I think he needs to sit. Omir has shown some positivity this season. I mean, there's been some really good moments he's had coming on with Calvin, and with the minutes he's had. So, roll the dice, put him out there. Let's see what he can do. I mean, I think the only concern, I think last year we saw it a lot too. One winger would have a great game. We'd put him in at the starting for the next, the next game, and then there would be much happen. So, I guess it's one way or the other. We'll see how it works out. But, I'd love to see Omir get that start.
But I got a question, bro, because just listening to you talking and saying that, and you're right. We had very inconsistent. One week they were hot, the next week maybe they weren't as hot. Um, I totally lost my train of thought. What was I gonna ask you, Crash? I guess I'll have to come back to it, bro. I had a good question to ask you, homie, but it just slipped. It just slipped. Um, we were talking about you mentioned Jonathan Lewis taking off, and then we were talking about Omir and well, whatever. I'll just I had a good question, but I guess it'll be another time. Cabral starting six of the matches, bro. You're right. I mean, at what point do we say? And I've said this a couple of times in different streams. We do need to try something different. But would you do that against this opponent?
Yeah, then that's the hard part, right? Is do you just keep rolling with what you know and bring it in and know you've got Calvin and Omir as not necessarily your super subs, but as quality depth subs to come in. I don't know. I would like to see him, but the games aren't going to get easier in the next few weeks, so it might be worth giving Omir an opportunity there, raise his confidence, and let him prove it.
I got my question back, homie. Now I remember. Besides Djordje, and I guess Djordje has barely now started to and sorry for bouncing around, but has barely
Nope.
started to show this type of trait. In your opinion, do the Rapids have that player that can grab the game by the scruff of the neck and just score the brace like Djordje did last week? Is there anybody else in the locker room that has that type of that in their locker room, bro? And the reason I ask that is because
No.
just like that. Uh,
No, I don't. I mean,
anybody who's the
I would love
closest
to
to
say
that?
it. And I mean, we're close. I think Cole is our closest person to it, but I think he's in a bit of frustration. I think he's not quite lived up to his expectations. I think he's doing an amazing job. I think it's just, formation has shifted and changed and new personnel has come in. So
Yes.
I think he would be that guy that you can count on to just grab the game as needed, but he hasn't quite done it this season, or maybe he just hasn't needed to. But I mean, Djordje's our guy. I mean, he's the guy who can do that. If anybody on the team is going to pull us out of something, it's going to be him. I think
Yeah.
Hoffa's got good moments, but he's not going to be the guy who's going to take charge of that. It's going to be Djordje, but off the bench, no, we don't have anybody that's going to come off the bench and change a game for us. And I think that we have good depth on the bench now, or at least on the team, but no game changers, right? Nobody who's going to come in and go, oh, this is dangerous. We could score now.
That's kind of what got me thinking about that is I'm trying to think, who would be the next best thing to and like I said, it seems like Georgie has I listened to the Pitcast. The Pitcast is a nice stream that I like to listen to, a podcast. Shout out to
Mhm.
Pitcast. And I think they were talking about it, that like it's just this season that, Georgie has really taken to what it means to there was one game that he sat there just like looking at the fans for like I don't even know how long it was, but he was just like soaking it all in. The fact that I think it was the Dallas game where we yeah, he says that's the official C38 cast. It is, man. I'm a
Yeah.
fan of it. And Georgie was kind of just soaking it all in. I think after the Dallas match,
Mhm.
and they kind of talked about how that might have just sparked, like maybe the flame that it needed to kind of get Georgie past that next level to say, you know what, I'm gonna fucking do this. I'm going to, because we
Mhm.
know, we know what the club means to Djordje. He provided us with the best sound bite of the last 5 years last season. So you could tell he definitely plays with his heart on the sleeve, and I think that's the type of shit that you need in your locker if you're gonna want to be this type of player that is gonna be super sub, the player to be
Yeah.
counted on, because a lot of players get that. A lot of players, that's how they get their notoriety, bro. They're not getting the crack at the first team, but they're there for when they need to score the goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will say the one I'm excited for Djordje this season. I think, he came into the league, back into the league last year, and, made some pretty big waves. I mean, his goal contributions were almost 20. He was like, what, 23 or 24 last year. And I think he's got big expectations. Almost hit his the assist record for the year. All
Yeah.
different kinds of hit. He almost hit his targets for the year in his first year, and now you're seeing him get exposure in the league. Made the Olympic team last year, which I think was huge for him and his confidence. You're seeing him on. I'm seeing him on Home Depot commercials.
I saw that.
And he was on MLS 360 for 20, 30 minutes during one of the games. Chatting in his gaming room. It's good to see him getting some recognition, because I think he's been underlooked because of the Rapids bias in the MLS. Just a lack of exposure that we tend to get. But yeah, I think I'm excited for him. I think all of that has added up, and I think the love that the supporters have shown him has been huge, and I think he's had an opportunity to live into that. And I think he really is that dog that we want on the team, and he's fighting every minute. So I love Djordje. He's on my daughter's jersey this year, and so he definitely got that dog that I love to see in the midfield for sure.
Nice. Yeah, man. I love a lot of the qualities that he
Best free
shows.
kicker in the
Oh,
league, American for
yeah.
sure.
The
I mean,
homie Greg, big up my
it's him
homie.
and Messi, him and
Him
Messi,
and yeah,
right?
of course. That's by default. The homie Greg says Alex Harris has huge potential and could develop into that type of player. Hopefully, Chris Armas finds a way to get him some minutes. And I'm
Yeah.
assuming he was kind of just caveating off of what we were talking about, just
Mhm.
the type of player that could probably be the game changer. Do you know
Yeah.
much about Alex Harris at all, my homie?
I mean, other than he's the Messi of the Ivy League, that's all I know of him. I don't
I
follow
didn't
too
even know
much
that,
college
but let's do it.
soccer. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's the running joke there. He's got good quality. Don't get me wrong. I think he got good potential. And I'm excited to see those guys get minutes. The challenge is they got to get minutes and
Yeah.
to develop and get on the field and to see what they can do. And they're all young, and that's the challenge, right? Like, do they have it in them?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But if they're not getting the minutes, right, it's hard to say. I think you look at some of the other teams in the league, and they've got some massive talent that comes off the bench that have proven their ability. Where guys like
Yeah.
Alex Harris and even like Yappy, we know they've got good potential, right? But you're going to pull them off the bench and be like, yeah, what can they do? They just don't have the minutes in the league to prove that yet.
Yeah. You touched on Darren Yappy, bro. I'm interested to get your opinion on that. I know we were kind of you were definitely in the comments last stream where I was kind of talking about the younger generation, if you will. Um, yeah, bro. If you were to set an expectation on Darren Yappy for goals, knowing how young of I guess I want to say young. He's been around already for a while. Like he
Mhm.
he he definitely
Yeah.
is a young player, but he's been one of these younger players that have been getting more of a sniff than the rest of them. So he knows what it's like to
Mhm.
score an MLS goal. He knows
Yeah.
what it's like to play in Leagues Cup. He knows what it's like to endure a home and away in the MLS. You know what I mean? So he's not your not a rookie anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
How many goals do you think if if everything could line up for him and he finds a pair of shooting boots somewhere out there on special, how many goals do you think the homie could bag this season, bro?
I think on a good season, if he gets 5 or 6, then it's a great season for him. He's not. I hope he gets more minutes because Hoffa's going to need to rest.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be good to see him get 5 or 6 goals this season. I think if he gets that, we're flying as a team and doing well. But yeah, it's hit and miss, right? It's getting in those opportunities, but also he needs service. He's not going to be Hoffa where he's creating those chances for himself. He's going to need others to create for him. And so late in the game, we need those attacking pieces to be able to provide for him to score. He's proven that he can clean up goals. He can be there where he needs to
yeah,
be to tap him in and knock him in and be goal dangerous in that way. But he's not going to be the guy curling around
of
a
course.
goalkeeper from the top of the box to get it in. So or chipping it over
Yeah.
the keeper. So
No, I agree. I agree. And I see a lot of good characteristics as well in Yappy. He puts himself
yeah.
in dangerous positions. He definitely does. And he's quick, could definitely win us a penalty or two. And
Mm-hmm.
just being in the right place at the right time. But like you said, homie, definitely. And a lot of this will be rinse and repeat with most of these players is just take advantage of your time. What was the quote that Chris Armas said? Just be ready to stay ready to be ready. You know what I mean? So just stay
Yep.
ready to be ready. And as long as he could do that, you know what I mean? You're right. The opportunities that he will be getting is because Hoffa's going to be tired. And if he's getting goals like that, it's because the Rapids are doing some good work
Yeah.
throughout the
Yeah. If he's getting
season.
minutes, that means we're doing good things. That's positive. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. One thing I guess now that I'm picking your brain, my homie, a little bit. I'm interested to know
yeah, of course.
the we've done some work up top with some of these younger players, and even we touched a bit of Bryce Jameson, who's the new signing. We've seen players come into the midfield. We've brought in some new players, Josh Atencio, Cudi
Mm-hmm.
Pietro, who could be a cam as well, right? Not necessarily designated to being
Mm-hmm.
up on top. He's a versatile player. So I'm even throwing in, the midfield has gotten some sort of an uplift. Our defense has gotten some sort of an uplift in Cheeto and Ian Murphy, but we're still very, very we could do improvement, wouldn't you say, bro?
Mm-hmm.
Most defensively, more than anything. Thank God, right now our defense has been holding us in the games, and most of our problems have been the attacking part of our game. But we also do want to, you know, at least keep an eye out because, bro, I got some wood right here. I got to knock on wood. We're a couple of injuries away from being a couple of defensive starters
Mm-hmm.
out, bro. And if that happens, we're fucked.
Yeah, no, definitely for sure. I think we've had a good start defensively outside of a couple games, where it's not gone well. But for the majority, and if you're looking into CCC against LAFC, even those games defensively, I thought we did really well. But yeah, I
I
mean
agree.
we're pretty, you know, our backup, I mean, I think Ian and Cheeto were the biggest signings of the offseason for what we got them for. I mean, it was like 1 million in GAM with some extra
Of course.
add-ons
Yeah.
there for both of them. I mean, that was a masterclass for the front office there with Purig to get that done because they've just blown it out, which I think has been awesome. I think Cheeto has been a massive add there, and it's been exciting to see him and Andreas get some good solid minutes together, and they seem to be working as a good defensive unit. But then with Ian Murphy as a depth piece, I mean, I think that's solid for defense. We need some fullbacks. We need Vinesy to prove that he's back. If he's not back, if we're still running with injuries, I think Cannon has been doing really well, but we need some healthy guys. We need to see Cannon and Vines, really pull it in. I think Cannon's done fairly well this season, and I think even outside of that, I think Ian has almost surpassed him in certain moments where I'm like, I'm more comfortable with him, just because he's playing simply in that position and not trying new things, and end up getting beat or something. So I don't know. I think defensively it'd be good to have an extra piece there. I think Anderson Rosa, I think worst case scenario, you could pull him up, and he proved he was that, stay ready to get ready kind of guy, and was able. And Armas seems to be pretty high on him, so I could see at a pinch they bring him in. And then you got Michael Edwards there. I think he needs some minutes. He's relatively solid. I think he's just green and in that position, but I think he could also jump in. So I feel pretty confident in our defenders. And then we're just stacked in midfield. I mean, we've got so many midfielders at this point. I feel like we're going to have to let one of them go, at some point, because they're just not going to have the minutes. Whether that's between Ollie or Connor. I think there's going to be a real question on who's that super sub, or that's that secondary sub on, because Atencio seems to be a pretty much a lock. Cole's going to be a lock. Djordje's a lock.
Djordje.
And I think the rest after that, you've got Ollie Fadal, Wayne Frederick. You've got all these, and Sam as your young guys. It's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening there. But we've got some good depth, but it's a lot of midfield. So I feel like Connor's going to be the odd man out because of injury and just kind of contract, I think.
Yeah, fuck yeah, I agree, bro. I agree. We are actually, now that I think about it, completely stacked in the midfield, bro. Completely stacked in the midfield.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's good to see Wayne too. Wayne Frederick, right? He has some good solid minutes this year. I was actually impressed with his start that he got. And was it Intensio's absence there or earlier in the season? I forget which game it was, but he did really well. He didn't he didn't play over his head. He played simply, but he played solid. So I felt good about him. So I think we got some good CDMs there, with Josh and him. And then the rest are just, kind of pick your poison on what you want in the attack or on the field, because I think they all can play it. And we'll see what Sam and Ollie Fadal have in him. I mean, we've seen him at DU and what he can do, but Ollie Fadal's an unknown. And I know Judgmental Jim is high on him. He always talks about him a lot, and I agree. I want to see Ollie out there on the field to get some minutes and see what he can do, because I'd hate to see him just being on the bench the whole season.
Yeah, and I think out of all the youngsters that have just been kind of trying to get bled in, correct me if I'm wrong, is Alex Harris the closest one to get in some game time? Well, I mean, he did make his debut the other day, but I'm saying getting some maybe more minutes throughout the season. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he from my understanding, Alex is more of a forward than he is a midfielder, but I'm sure he can play kind of all over. So I would imagine it'll be interesting to see what Armas does if they need to pull some minutes from Hoffa for injury or just tired legs or whatever that might be. I think it might be a real push between him and Yappy, up top, or maybe they switch around. But I could definitely see Harris getting some solid minutes between him and Yappy.
Yeah, I agree. Big up to everybody who's either here still live or watching this back on playback. Just gonna ask if you wouldn't mind, please like this stream. It definitely is gonna help to get this out to more people, just so that we can have more discussions and get this type of content out to more people. Not just MLS content, but Colorado Rapids content. My homie Crash, do you have any type of final thoughts about this game before we end up signing off, my homie?
It's going to be a good one, man. This and next week are going to be the start to our season for the most part, right? Everything up to this point, we've been playing well, but we've been finding ourselves. And if we play like we did last week, we're going to be contenders, and we're going to be in that conversation, so a good showing away at, against the number one team in the West at the current moment is going to be huge. I think we were talking earlier about the table, and if we make that win, that puts us over Vancouver and puts us up close to the top there, depending on how the rest of the teams end up. That's going to be a big swing. And it's going to be a good opportunity for us to gain that momentum against some good teams and going into San Diego at home, which is going to be another hard. Or I think, are we home or away next week?
No, San Diego would be at home.
At
Yeah,
home,
the
yeah,
San
that's
Diego
right. Yeah,
match
so
is at home.
that'll be a big one, right? They're going to be coming here to playing in altitude, and it's so again, I think this one's gonna be the test, right? We play well here, we can leverage that into a good run of form. So this is gonna be the game to watch.
Yeah, I agree, bro. I agree. I'm interested to see what type of formation we put out. What type of I think it's we talked about it. I'm going with the same formation. I'm going with the same starting lineup as the last game. I feel like that's just the best opportunity going forward. But look, my homie Crash, I appreciate you making the debut on the channel, my homie. I appreciate all the intel and the information that you brought to tonight's episode. I look forward to doing this more. And yeah, my homie, we got to do it again.
Absolutely.
Not only is it come on you Spurs over here, my homies, but it is up the fucking
Up
pits,
the
and we will have a
pitch.
stream. Yeah, we will have a stream. I will be streaming probably Monday a review of the game, so make sure you guys come back to catch all of that. And we will see you guys in a couple of days, my homies. Let's go.